Hey there everybody, this is Lee with Creative2xmom, and today's video is going to be the Book of the Month collab. This video is in collaboration from Ingrid over at Mommy and Mia Homeschool Chronicles, and I will link the playlist down below so you can check out all the great recommendations. I love watching these videos every month because it gives me a good idea of some books I might want to read and some books I might want to avoid. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lee, and I'm the mom of 3 kiddos. Noah is 12, Lydia is 10, and Josiah is 6. We talk about not just surviving parenthood, but thriving. We do a lot of homeschool videos, some recipes, general lifestyle, and just talking about parenthood. So make sure you hit that subscribe button before the end of this video. This one is going to be talking about all the books that we have read this month. I've got 2 that I've read personally and a few that we have read as read alouds in our home. So let's talk about some of my personal reads for this month. The first one was For the Children's Sake. This is by Susan Schaefer McCulley. This was recommended to me for understanding a little bit more about the Charlotte Mason method. There are a lot of Charlotte Mason YouTubers that I follow, and I really love the idea, but I am such a type A homeschooler, and so it's been this journey of trying to figure out how to pull a little bit more Charlotte Mason into our home, because I really believe in the philosophy. But I thought, you know what? I believe in what I see other people doing, but do I really believe in the philosophy of education? So I wanted to jump into something that was going to give me a little bit more substantial background, not just somebody's experience, but what that looks like as a philosophy, so that I could kind of, do I really want to use some of those methods in our homeschool? This was a really good book, and I feel like it's a really good place to start. I also, on hold, grabbed the Charlotte Mason Companion, and it's very overwhelming. It's a super thick book. It would be a great one to own, so I'm kind of trying to get my hands on a used copy of that. But when you first see it, it can be super, super overwhelming. So I decided I was going to read this one first because it's a little bit more accessible. It's a lot shorter of a book. It's just not as intimidating. I think there's about 160 pages or so. However, just because it's not as visually intimidating, it was still a very challenging read for me. If you saw my coffee and books tag video earlier last week, I talked about how Charlotte Mason is pretty contrary to my type A, check your boxes, school at home type mentality, and I know that that's not what I want for our homeschool, and yet that's what I always kind of fall back on. So even though this wasn't a very long read, it was a super challenging read for me personally. That's not to say that it's not a good book. It's a great book. It's one that I want to reread again, only because it was so challenging to me. I feel like I didn't get it all, and I want to get it all. I want to understand better, so I probably will be rereading this one again. I just need a little bit of time to let what has gotten through sink in. It's one of those things that is going to really kind of take a change in my mentality, and so it's going to be a slower process than I might want it to be. So I know I need to read it again in the future, but right now I'm going to take what I learned from the book and try to see how I can implement it in our homeschool. But if you're at all thinking about Charlotte Mason, if you're at all looking into different educational philosophy, if you're starting your homeschool journey, definitely check this one out. I would highly recommend that one. It will really challenge the way you think. The second book I read was called The Healthy Living Handbook. This is by Laura Harris Smith. This was sent to me by the publisher for a review, so just disclaimer, you know that I was sent this book, and I will have a full written review on this book. It probably should already be up by the time this video goes up, so I will link that down below as well. This book was interesting to me because it was divided into 3 parts. It was divided into the spiritual part of healthy living, the mental part of healthy living, and then the nutritional, physical part of healthy living. And I think that's important. No matter where you're at in developing a more healthy lifestyle, I think a lot of us look at nutrition and exercise, nutrition and exercise, nutrition and exercise, and we forget to look at the body as a whole. So if you're neglecting your spiritual and getting all of that in order, if you're neglecting your mental, emotional, and getting all that in order, it doesn't matter how hard you plug into the physical, somewhere along the lines that's going to break down if these other elements aren't in order. Same thing with the spiritual. I think your spiritual life is going to break down if you're not striving to be the healthiest you can be. Now, I'll be honest, I am not perfect in my nutrition and physical activity. However, because I'm striving and I'm really trying to make steps in that area, I feel like it has enhanced my spiritual life. So I kind of think looking at the body as a whole is a very important part of healthy living. So I was intrigued by the idea. I thought it was pretty well written. The main thing, probably the section that resonated the least with me, was the mental emotional, because a lot of it was about putting your home in order, putting your space in order, which I think is important, but I think that there are other mental issues as well that need to kind of be aligned in order to have a healthy perspective on life. So I'm on the fence with that one. Check out the review down below. I'll give you a few more of my thoughts. So I only got 2 personal reads on this one. As far as with the kids, we read a ton. And part of what helps us do that is that we keep audiobooks in the car all the time. I don't know about you, but I feel like I live in my car sometimes. I've got 3 kids doing multiple sports. We're with a charter school. I work part-time outside the home. We visit family quite a bit, and none of our family's in town. So audiobooks save my life. So the first one that we read this month, was Bud, Not Buddy. This is Christopher Paul, the label is covered. Christopher Paul Curtis. I have heard really good things about this author and really good things about this book, but for some reason we had just never read it, and I loved it. It was so, so good. This little boy is absolutely hilarious. He's about 10 years old, and his imagination runs away with him all the time. It's set in the Great Depression. His mother has died. He's been in a home, and he is set out to search for his father, and he has a name. He doesn't know for sure if it's his father, but in this little boy's mind, it is his father. It is, absolutely. And so he is set out to find this man, and it's about the adventures that he encounters along the way and the family that he ends up finding in the end, which is not the family that he plans on finding, but is the family that is perfect for him. So I would highly, highly recommend this. I've been warned about a few of the other books by this author, so I can't speak to any of those. We're going to try Elijah Buxton here pretty soon, but I'm not sure. So, but I do know that Bud Not Buddy, fantastic book if you haven't read it with your kids yet. The next one, I believe it is pretty new. At least it was new to my library. It's Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. It's by Vashti Harrison. This one is read by Robin Miles and Bonnie Turnip. Really good. I wish, however, that we would have had the physical book and not the audio book, because I think this would have been really enhanced by the illustrations. This was 30, I believe. There's 30 different women. Oh, 40 different African-American women in American history. And it starts, goes chronologically. So the most recent one, I believe, was Gabby Douglas. It was the most recent. Which I think is good. It's hard to do recent role models only because they haven't lived that long. You don't have, I think there's something about the longevity of a person's life that makes them admirable. So, but it included a lot of people that I had never ever heard of before, and probably never would have been introduced to without this book. People who were spies in the White House during the Civil War, people who worked in the Underground Railroad, people who worked in civil rights movements, people who worked in mathematics and science and technology. And that, for me, is a huge deal, to put those role models in front of my daughter, because those are areas that I want her to see women excelling in. Any admirable woman in history is great, but particularly in that area, I want her to see that women can make a huge difference in any area of life. So this one we loved. I highly recommend it, but I would go for more the physical book, not the audiobook, so you get the illustrations with it. This particular version had a PDF that you could pull the illustrations from, but since we were listening to it in the car, that just didn't really matter. And then our Read Aloud in the evenings, we are working through the Little House on the Prairie series. We are in the second to last book, and we will be finished with it by the time this video goes up. I think there's about 3 chapters left. These happy golden years. And it's so funny because my 6-year-old has been listening to this as we've been reading in the evening, and early on in the book there were things where you could tell that Almanzo liked Laura, but he never came out and said. It was hinted at. There were a lot of inference there, and he was the first of all 3 of my kids to pick it up. All of a sudden one night he's like, I think Almanzo loves Laura. Do you think they're going to get married? And so it was so cute to see my 6-year-old pick up on what was going on in the story. When my 10-year-old looked at him, she's like, what are you talking about? You think they're going to get married? He's like, oh yeah, they're totally going to get married. So it's just funny to see his insight. We are loving this. This is the first time we've read through the first 6 of the series, but this is the first time that we have read the 7th book, and then we just have 1 more after that. I'm hoping to finish within our school year to finish all of these, but it's been really good to learn more about Laura's life. So those are the books that we read this month, both with the kids and that I read personally. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite book is that you read recently or what you're currently reading. I'm always looking for new recommendations. And of course, hit that playlist button down below to see what others are reading in their homes. I know that I will be definitely checking that out after I film this video because I am curious as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.